Hello and welcome to the ICCC. We're here, the Collective podcast, and I've got some really special guests I'd love to introduce you to. We have Jeff and David. So welcome, guys. Tell us a little bit about you. You are also part of the convention. You're here with us, and you're in the room actually right next to us.
Yes, ma'am.
What are you guys doing in that room? What can people expect to find there?
You can expect three different things, actually, from three different people. First edition, Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, I'll be running. This is Jeff. Fifth edition.
Yep, Dave O'Brien will be running 5th edition. And I'll also be helping out run Magic the Gathering. We're going to have commander tournaments over there.
That is awesome. So is it the kind of thing that anyone can just kind of walk in and drop in on, observe, or is there a certain time that they need to show up?
Anyone can come in and observe. For the commander, though, you do need to bring your own commander deck.
Okay.
We do have a few from one of the gentlemen that is helping us. But no, we do ask that you bring that. But for D&D, all you have to do is have a butt.
Awesome.
Sit on down.
Have a butt and sit on.
No, maybe.
I'm half-assed. Does that count?
Yeah, just sit on down. We have dice. We have dice rolling trays. We have dice towers. We have monsters. We have a DM screen. We pretend like we know how to play the game. It's fun.
Perfect. So and this is a little bit of a loaded question because everyone here knows this answer. But Jeff, what is your connection to D&D? What is your history with that?
I know how to spell it.
Good.
Oh, no, sorry.
Good start.
I happen to know Ernie Gygax in high school. I played string bass in orchestra. He played violin, first chair. So I graduated in 78, and he didn't graduate, so there, Ernie. And he told me that I had a guaranteed job to work with his dad. So I ended up in August of 78 working for TSR, and I was a 17th employee. First thing I worked on was Dungeon Master's Guide First Edition. Then my first solo project was the Gateway to Adventure, their first color catalog. Mm-hmm. And then in 79-ish for Gen Con East, I helped Harold Johnson write the Hidden Shrine of Temochin C1 adventure.
All right.
So that's all it in a nutshell, pretty much.
And what do you guys up to?
I'm in a nutshell.
And then now you and David have the shop in the fill me in. Sorry, Lake Geneva. You have the Dungeon Master shop.
We have what it is it's the Dungeon Hobby Shop Museum, also TSR Museum. It was the first building TSR purchased, and was the first Dungeon Hobby Shop, first TSR periodicals, and first TSR, and that was the first building I got to work at. So, a random gamer. He's pretty random.
Justin Lanasso.
Thank you. I knew his name, but you have to talk to. So, he decided that he wanted to see if he could buy the building. He bought the building. Said, I was way up north, had no one to game with. He said, you want to be the head curator and the manager and the head designer for the museum. And I said, where do I sign? So, and he, like I said, a random gamer. I've only known him for less than 3 years. So it's kind of like a dream come true. I'm going back home because I'm originally just 4 miles north of Lake Geneva. So I couldn't be happier.
That's awesome.
It's a very small museum, but we also have a gaming group, and you can become a member. We try to game as often as possible. I'm on disability, so we play as often as possible. And then hopefully I'll be running every week a first edition. Then hopefully Dave's brother Dan will be running a 5th edition, because I hate to say this, all you first edition people, close your ears, because 5th edition is fun.
It is fun.
It is really fun.
Very fun.
See, everybody said
I'll be
so.
running some also.
I'll go to hell for that, but at least I'll use my name. You'll get a good seat.
There you go.
So yeah, I'm extremely lucky. I always say it was in the right place at the right time. So I got extremely lucky.
That was awesome. And so, David, how long have you been playing?
I started learning how to play in roughly September of '94 with Ernie Gygax. in the basement of the Game Guild in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. And when they were having the Geek Nation tour, Ernie had called me up. He goes, "Hey, we need some extra players. You and your brother stop on by." So we never turned down a game, so we went up there, and that's actually where we met Justin. I had met Jeff earlier. I met him at GaryCon, which is a convention that they hold every year to kind of celebrate a life well lived in Lake Geneva for Gary Gygax. And Jeff and I met jousting in chainmail jousting.
Tally ho!
Yes, I won also. I beat Jeff.
Oh, you guys are competing against each other. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and I still hate him.
I unhorsed him.
Yeah. No, they're talking about the game.
And
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
What did that mean?
and so
Strictly
that's how I met Justin. And we were just talking about oddities, and he mentioned that he has the Museum of the Bizarre in Wilmington, North Carolina. So, and I said, I have a bunch of bizarre things. I collect a bunch of bizarre things. So we just got to talking. And he called me a couple months later and said, "Hey, I bought that building. You want to help out?" I was like, "Sure." So he had a dream, and on the ride along to help him fulfill his dream, helping Jeff. Same reason I'm here at the ICCC. You know, back in 2017, Mike mentioned, I want to do this convention.
Yeah.
And I knew how crazy he was and how he would do it. And so I said, let me know how I can help. And here it is 4 years later, and I'm still helping. So
like D&D, it sounds like your lives are stories of friendship and
yes,
just community, which I think is the strongest thing about D&D.
And that's what gaming's all about.
Yeah.
You meet
Until I'm
so many
killed
cool
off.
people, just random people walking in and saying, "Oh, what are you guys doing here? Come sit down, play, roll dice. You know, have fun."
Yeah.
That's the way Gary would want it.
that definitely.
It really is. He's there's no reason to fight. There's no reason to bicker. There's some of that going on in the industry, and Gary would just say, "Shut up and roll dice," because that's what it's meant to be. Camaraderie, and you meet the best. You really do meet the best people.
And he
Really do.
welcomed everyone at his table.
Yep.
So
And you could
actually,
call-
everyone to his house too. You could just walk up to his house and say, "Can we play some games?"
You could back in the day, you could call him directly and ask him about the original Dungeons and Dragons, and he would sit and talk to people
I've
and answer
heard that.
questions.
Yeah, you could directly. Yeah. I've
And
never
he would
listened.
talk to random people or random gamers for hours, and just just talking games. So, yeah,
Sounds
pretty
amazing.
incredible guy, really was.
So cool. So, any plans for the museum to be open to the public in the future, hopefully, or is that?
Well, we're just yes.
Okay.
To answer your question, we're waiting for zoning on a parking lot, of all things. So once we get that, and I think the zoning on the sign is done, we should be open by June 1st, I think, and I should be moved from my home up north down here with my two lovely cats. Because I'm living right above, I don't know if I mentioned that, I'm living right above the museum.
Okay.
In the old art department.
In the old art department's my bedroom. Brian Bloom, the vice president of TSR's office, is my living room. My kitchen is Mike Carr's old office, and he was the managing editor. So,
My car also created.
Fight in the Skies or Dawn Patrol.
Yes.
And just to let you know, and this is something that Justin Lanasa just loves to tell people, we have the original toilet. Yeah, he raises his eyebrows. It's weird. We have the original toilet that all of the TSR people used over the years.
Gary's throne. We have Gary's throne.
That's right. Original seat and everything.
Stop. Why didn't we start with that? Okay.
Oh.
So I have so many questions.
Where do we
No.
start?
So if you're in Lake Geneva, 723 William Street,
That's right.
just tell Duck, I have to use your washroom.
Yeah. May I use your bathroom? Yes.
You could sell tickets to that.
Exactly.
People would pay for that. Come on.
It's a selling point. So yeah, it's should be fun. Again, it'll be also like a game club. We want to we'll have probably a board game night. I
Yes,
would think.
definitely.
We're not playing Magic there because it's too new. We're trying to stick with older stuff. The owner doesn't want to do 5th edition. Ernie Gygax doesn't want to do 5th edition. I'm in charge with no power whatsoever, and I say we're doing 5th edition.
Duck,
he
Duck and
backs me
Dave
up,
are
so-
going to do it.
That's right. So no matter what, it's going to happen.
And now it's in recorded history.
That's right. So it is written.
So
So let it be done.
This is a personal question. If you don't play D&D, it may not seem like it, but do you have a favorite class of character to play?
Oh, I'm going to stir up crap.
Yeah, you are.
Okay, yes. May I?
Please.
Oh, okay. So back in the day, I learned D&D in Boy Scouts. So I was 13, 14, something like that. And just random playing, and I came up with a fighter magic user thief, elf.
Wow.
Melf the elf. Not very clever name, but, Bob the Slob, same thing. So I came up with this character. I've been playing him since 74, I think. So I had this Melf the elf. So then all of a sudden, Luke Gygax, who was just like 10 years old when I started, he creates a elf character named Melf the elf. So then Melf the elf gets all these special spells. If you've looked in the books, it's Melf's magic whatever.
He also has his own action figure.
Oh, that just sucks even worse. I am my own action figure. So I say to him, why? He says, I was a kid. I had probably heard the name, but it's weird. Every spell that he created, my character would have created too. That's the weirdest part. So that's my favorite character. And then one more non-player character in the Rogues Gallery, Phoebus the Lizard Man. Very well-known character.
Okay.
So there you go.
You had a lot to do with the Rogues character sheets also, didn't you?
The Rogues Gallery?
Yeah, the Rogues Gallery. I'm sorry. the Rogues
Editing,
Gallery.
but
Yes, see?
that was it, yeah.
Editing, that's a lot.
Well,
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just a bunch of jumbled words.
well, and yes, it is. I didn't say I was good.
Do you have a favorite character or class to play?
In 5th edition, yes. I normally gravitate more towards Rangers.
Okay.
I like being away from the fight, yet contributing to the fights. I also like doing all the tracking, things like that.
Okay.
Having just a little bit of magic. You don't want too much because then it takes up too much of your time. And I like shooting things with bow and arrows.
Okay.
But for 1st edition, and it's kind of weird because Jeff is one of my good friends now, but I can fanboy over him because when we were playing at 330 Center Streets, home of where D&D was created, the player sheet he gave me, he goes, here, play this character. And I looked down and I'm like, oh my God, is this the Melf? He's like, yes, that's the Melf. I'm like, that is so cool. So I still have it, and it was autographed by Jeff.
So the value went down.
Yes. Yeah, so I can't even give it away.
Exactly.
And, no, that is actually my favorite character, and I recently played Melf, and he came out. We had several games over at the dungeon during the latest virtual Gary Con. We weren't as virtual as others. We all sat around together, and I played Melf and was told you can't play him. He's a little too powerful. Pick a different character. After I walloped several of Ernie's monsters. He looked and he goes, how'd you do that? And I showed him, and he's like, oh, yeah, you got to change that. So then I switched over to Samium, and that's another favorite name I always use.
Okay.
And it is just Sam I Am.
Yep.
Sam.
And we're trying to get whatever D&D, no matter what edition it is, we want to try to get it so we can just use the same characters. So there'll be 3 different campaigns just to build up characters more quickly.
Yeah.
So it's a little tough because Justin loves to give out treasure, and that's why
Yeah,
I
he
love to
does.
play. Well, he really does.
It's so much fun.
It's so much fun. And I'm kind of mediocre, and then Ernie is just kind of throws stuff at people, except for me.
It's random. It's
Yeah,
very
really,
random with
very
Ernie.
random. But
My DM spoils us, and it's amazing. It's our favorite. He just spoils us with the best stuff. It's so great.
well, see, Game Master's job is not to kill the players.
Yes.
It's to have everybody have fun.
Did you hear that, Jim?
That's
Jim
right,
Ward?
Jim Ward.
Did you hear that?
Testing. Gary Gygax said that at a convention, everyone that plays in his game should die. Because it's a convention. Not the players, the characters. Don't get too excited down there. Okay.
Yeah.
But I've had people play and never lose a character, and we're talking 45 years. Smart players, and
Yeah.
when you're an elf, you can only be raised by wish. You can't use
Right.
regular spells, or regeneration.
Yeah.
So
In 5th edition, come on over. As a ranger, you can use spells. You can cure people. You can help
Stormwake Boar.
cure. Yeah.
all right, let's
And
play.
Another question I have that I like to ask people who've been playing D&D for years, if you were to explain it simply to somebody who has no idea what D&D actually stands for, how do you just like in a few short sentences, like elevator pitch D&D, what is it?
You or me?
Go ahead. Age before beauty.
Okay.
So glad we're recording. We get that side eye.
Did I tell you earlier that I hated him? Did we have that straight? I would just tell people, you're playing a character. I just told the lady whose husband drew me a Donald Duck. She says, I don't know. I said, you take a character, a fighter, magic user, thief, cleric, something similar to that. You pick what you want him to be, what race to be, and you become that player. I, as the GM or DM, control the world. I give you scenarios and options, and then you tell me what you're going to do, what your character is going to do. And usually you do that in game speak, so you don't say, hey, Duck, I'm going to do this. Is that what your character says? So when that monster's running at you, you're saying, hey, Duck, I'm doing this. Or when everybody gets together, starts talking, you say, are your characters all standing talking? So to get the hardest aspect, I think, is role-playing, to get the people to actually role-play properly, because there's different degrees of role-playing. I don't know if that makes sense. Oh, and you roll dice.
Absolutely. Yeah.
To roll dice to hit and get treasure and all sorts of fun.
David, do you have a way that you kind of tell people about D&D like that?
Yeah, actually, I taught this D&D to several of my Cub Scouts also, and I said, just sit on down. I'm going to tell a story, and you're in it. And you're going to tell me what you're doing in the story, and you get to roll all these math rocks, and then you get to tell me what is happening. So, sometimes a kid's going to constantly roll bad, and you just have to flip that. So it's all about just staying positive, and I tell them that. We're all going to tell a story to each other. We're just going to sit here. We're going to enjoy ourselves. If you find you're not enjoying yourself, get up, walk around, listen to someone else. So
Nice.
that's how I do it. I'm telling a story, and you're part of it.
In it. That's a great way to put it. Yeah, I love
Perfect.
it.
So, oh no.
Oh,
No,
yes,
no,
yes.
yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes, that would be me.
No, after you. Indubitably.
Now, how about you? I'm going to flip that question over to you. So, how do you explain D&D? Because you are going to be going next door.
She has
and,
people like us do it. for
and
her.
and play.
Well, it's
And-
funny because
and DM.
I come from I was raised, so I think in the mid-'90s, there's a little bit of like what some people call Satanic Panic. There was a bit of a campaign against D&D.
Yes, it
And
was.
my mom got very much caught up in that. So up until, I was a teenager, no Harry Potter, no magic, no D&D. If you know what Adventures in Odyssey is, there was an Adventures in Odyssey show about D&D. Anyway, so that's why I haven't played until, I'm 30, and it's become a big part of my life. So I've kind of taken a little bit of responsibility in trying to teach the people in my life what it is, why that conception of it was completely backwards. And the most effective way I've found was just to be like, okay, here's my example. You're standing in a forest. There's no one around you. It's empty. You have XYZ, maybe give a little just bit of description. You're standing there, and suddenly you hear a twig snap behind you. What would you like to do? And that's it. And so when you just kind of prompt them to ask that question, they're like, I turn around and look, you just played D&D.
There you go.
You
Yeah.
Exactly.
just did it. That's it. That's the whole thing. I agree with you completely that the role-playing aspect is the most difficult to learn. You think it's the math. You think it's the spells and the stats. It's not.
No, not at
Because
all.
that's all right there, and you can look it up. But the role-playing and being into that and not getting that momentum, that's difficult.
That's why I can't play chaotic evil or anything evil. It's because I'm so saintly. I can't get into that role.
I think that's so evident. You just radiate sainthood.
We have to cut for a little while. I'm choking on my
As
own
Jeff
juices
Lee
here.
I mean, I'm blinded by your goodness. This is
That's-
true.
That's kind of weird because I was telling this story back when I started, and again, I was in Boy Scouts. my mom went to my dad and was afraid that I was demon worshiping. Exactly. And
See, Mom?
my dad was not educated. He didn't graduate high school. He was a blue-collar guy. But for some reason, he had the sense. He says, you'll know of something freaky. I was a good little boy, too. I was lawful good. And if it hadn't been for Dad's ignorance, but wanting me to become something besides a nerd, a music nerd, because I was in all the music, I got to play D&D, and if it hadn't been for Dad just kind of randomly saying, let the boy be, I wouldn't be here. I'd be a completely different person. So Mom, I'm no thank you, but Dad, thank you so much. So I love them both the most, but yeah, so that's pretty cool, or in a sad way, that we both have that in common.
And what's cool, like my mom's now, I've taught her a lot about it, and she's like very hesitantly like okay with it. She likes it for the social, because it makes me sociable. So she likes it for the social.
See?
I'm like, thanks, Mom. Like,
Yeah.
it makes me sound like a weirdo.
Yeah, otherwise, I just stay up in my room and color the walls or something.
Yeah, that's what I do in my free time. So, but yeah, it is cool. It is a great social aspect. I feel like I really connected with the people that I play with. We get together every Tuesday night. It's a community.
You're so lucky.
Oh,
I know.
I can't wait till I'm down on Lake Geneva and actually have a group.
I'm so spoiled.
Oh.
I recognize that. It's like I'm so spoiled. We meet and we're consistent, and like no one bails.
Now,
consistently.
all your meetings are online currently, right?
We do play online.
So that means she can invite us, Duck.
This is true. You would love it. RDM, I'm going to brag on him. He's amazing. He's been playing for like a million years because he's 1,000 years old.
Oh,
I guess.
wow.
And everyone else they're great. Everyone's so fantastic. It's a great story. It's a homebrew world with this amazing mythology and everything he's built. It's awesome. So.
See, and people
Very
say,
cool.
what world do you use? Do you use Greyhawk or Blackmore? It's like, the only time I've ever used a module or anything published was when I had to play test it or to run it at a convention, but I've had my own world since 1976, because you have all that imagination, and some people don't. I use miniatures because I'm more of a visual guy, so I like, this is what you see, and people, ooh, that's really cool. And there's so many different ways of doing it, but, and none of them is wrong. There's not a wrong, we ran a thing for the library and the Lake Geneva Museum, an event, and I had all new players. One guy had played once, all new players. I brought out my witch and my house and my pumpkin-headed weird things and everything. They never rolled dice to fight once. It was all thinking. They were attacking the wrong person. I didn't tell them that, of course. So they get all done. I didn't even realize they hadn't fought, and it's like, oh, that was really fun, but we didn't kill anything. I was like, oh. But they had fun, and that was the main thing.
Yeah.
Mike Carr's wife was the first time she ever played.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so it was really cool. So anybody can play. So if you guys come down to ICCC, we're in the Kingsley room. If you see a game going on, stop by. I have extra characters. I'll whip you a character, you sit down and you start playing. If we're not doing anything and there's more than one of you,
we'll just do
more than one and a half.
Yeah, we'll just do a simple encounter.
Yeah, just come down. We can teach you. We'll just do a couple battles, however you want to do it. But we're here to game and have fun. So.
Can I ask a question from the audience?
Yes. Yes, audience.
All right. I'm the whole audience.
That's right.
If you had someone come in that always looked at D&D and thought it was cool, but was too afraid to play it and didn't know how to get into it because it kind of looks complicated, what would you do to encourage them to come and join you just to enjoy and to immerse themselves in a new experience, meet new people, and a whole new culture?
Well, as long as they're fantasy-based, they like the fantasy genre and stuff, I just say, come on, sit down, watch. Pull up a soda or beer or whatever, sit right next to me. You see what I'm doing behind the DM screen. I'll explain as much as I can. Most people you have to explain dice to if they haven't played, and that's perfect. And usually people then, like at GaryCon, I've had first-time players, and they say, we'll be back next year. But Gary Con, being a different con, is there's so many ex-TSR employees that people collect game masters. So they'll come and play in my game one year, and then they'll go in Jim Ward's game next year, and I'll see them and say hi to them and everything, but they won't play in my game again. And that's, so a lot of people at conventions do it that way, but everybody, I've taught so many people, and probably Dave as
Yeah.
well, and it's actually really easy. Again, as long as they're in the mindset, because people don't get it. Oh, is it a card game? No. You know, is it a board game? Kind of no. So just sit down and watch. And if they're not sucked into it, you're probably not a good game master. You agree?
Yeah, I agree. I agree fully. I would just ask them, come on in, sit down. Let me show you what's what. Throw a skeleton out there and see if you can kill it. Maybe the skeleton kills you.
Yeah.
We don't know. We just don't know until you whip those math rocks and see what adds up.
With those math rocks.
A lot of times, the most difficult part for people when they're first learning is what die to use. And then you get us old schoolers that didn't have 10-sided dice, so you roll a 20-sided die with a 6-sided die, and you roll that, and then that confuses everybody, which is really fun. Us old guys have to have some kind of fun. Damn audience. So, but if anybody's ever in Lake Geneva is actually the mecca of gaming when you think about it. Our goal for the museum is when you drive into Lake Geneva, it'll say, "Welcome to Lake Geneva, home of co-creator of Dungeons & Dragons, Gary Gygax." They don't have anything like that. We're working with other people in the industry of getting his monument in the library in Lake Geneva. And it'll be him sitting at a table, and he'll have his hand like this so you can set your dice in it.
To bless your dice.
Yeah, so you could and you can sit down and play a game and have Gary Gygax statue sitting right there while you play D&D.
That's neat.
So we're shooting for that. We want to make Gary Gygax's name what it should be.
Yeah.
Because right now I was told kids don't know who the heck Gary is.
Well, and what we have to thank for, not only Dungeons and Dragons, but then the inspiration for what video games are today.
Exactly.
Like
Yep.
that's we wouldn't have video games, and maps and things the way that we do if it wasn't start with Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
And so
Yep.
kids don't know. My kids will know, but other kids don't know. So
Good kids.
Hi, my name's Jim, longtime listener, first-time caller. Where can we find out more information about this museum? Online, social media, what?
Yes.
Yep.
I answered directly, buddy.
You nailed it.
You can go online. We're on Facebook. If you go to the Dungeon Hobby Shop Museum.com, I think we're also there.
Yep.
And it's also TSR.com.
Nope, tsrmuseum.com.
Thank you. We're also working on getting 4 or 5 of the old TSR logos, the lizard man, the wizard and stuff, and then that'll hopefully be going on our products. So any products coming out will be okayed by TSR.
That was awesome.
So we're trying to bring back TSR. The only thing we're missing is Gary and a few of the really cool people like Dave Trampier, Dave Sutherland,
Don K.
really good Don K.
Don K, yeah.
Don K was just, wasn't. The other 2 guys I mentioned were artists. Don K had money. If it weren't for Don K, TSR wouldn't have happened. And Don K's wife hated gaming. I probably shouldn't say that.
No, don't say that.
Don't say that. But so when he passed away, she kind of got rid of everything he had because she didn't want anything to do with it. But that's a whole nother story, kids. And Jim, thank you for your wonderful question.
Would you say? Sorry, my question kind of just
Left?
my brain. Oh, have you guys ever thought about like doing a Twitch channel or a Twitch stream or anything like that? Or
We actually have a Twitch stream
Oh.
under Dungeon Hobby Shop
okay,
Museum. And you can go on there. You can see some of our past videos. They're actually very long. And because we stream the entire game.
Okay.
And it's not like we get together for an hour or two. When we sit down, we're very lazy. We don't want to get back up. So we sit there and we game. How long was Ernst's game? Like 8 hours?
Yeah.
And the whole thing is on there.
But
I'm
it's
not
people
in that
getting
one,
up
so it
and-
might not be worth watching.
I was in it. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. So all of this is kind of new to me, doing podcasts and stuff. So it's pretty exciting. But I have wicked stage fright. So
You're
so
on stage right now. Are you scared?
I've wet myself just a bit.
Okay.
It's not a stage. It's more like a podium, like a
Thank you,
riser.
yes.
It's not a stage. It's not a stage.
Thank you.
But we will stream games. Usually whenever we're playing. We've streamed other weird games like Iron Dragon. And Iron Dragon was created by Tom Wam. Tom Wam helped with the original Player's Handbook. His name's in the credits. I don't know what he helped with. You'd know that.
He did some art.
He did some art. Okay.
Yes.
Oh yes, that's right. The wizard that's running. Oh no, that's Jeff D. Sorry.
There's a cartoony one. Then he also did the Beholder in Monster Manual.
Oh yes, that's right.
Oh.
The original Beholder.
the
piece
first
of art.
Beholder.
So
That's terrifying.
So let's just talk about three people that should be mentioned that are always overlooked. Joe Orlowski was in charge of Gen Con, the first Gen Cons, and Little Wars magazine. He passed away years ago. He's never mentioned. Of course, Dave Trampier, my favorite artist, just a wonderful man. And I forgot the other two already. Wow, that was fast. Thank you, and have a good day. Smoke them if you got them, and I'm playing out the Sheridan later on tonight.
But Tom really isn't. People don't
No.
mention it, and he is a wonderful game designer
See, yeah,
and
so
a good friend of ours.
so Tom Wam, Snit's Revenge. I don't know if you know it, a board game.
Okay.
Originally in Dragon Magazine. So it's Snit's Revenge, Snits, and then Awful Green Things from Outer Space.
Okay.
So if you have kids that are like, once your kids are like 8 or 9, you want to have some fun. Oh, that's just fun. Awful Green Things from Outer Space is incredible. But yeah, he doesn't get the credit he deserves either.
He has a couple games that he will be releasing for, hopefully on a Kickstarter soon. The shipbuilding game, I forgot the name of it, where you're building the
Oh,
ship.
that sounds fun.
Oh, yep, a spaceship.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, Iron Dragon is, you're just trying to transport goods around the world. You can go underground where the orcs live. That's usually where you get all of the ale. But you're transporting things all over the place. So you'll pick up ale, and they need ale near the seaside. So you have to build train tracks to it. And which was a Mayfair game, another place that Jeff worked and did all kinds of stuff at.
Vicious rumors. Vicious rumors.
Didn't you have something to do with the first Empire?
No,
No?
I've played it.
Oh, you played it. Okay,
No, that
never-
was just
scratch that.
before me.
Okay.
But I played Nippon Rails and
Yes. All fun games.
all sorts of stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I was also lucky enough to work at when I was along with 140 and then 9 other people fired from TSR back in '86. That year I started working for Mayfair Games, and then I was put in charge of the chill role-playing game and then Rolaids, which was the only authorized D&D or AD&D line from TSR, so I was in charge of that. So I got some publishing from them as well. But it's so obscure. If you're not TSR, everything else seems kind of like people don't know about,
Yeah.
the
Second and
littler
third class.
places. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So I mentioned Mayfair Games. It's like, well, okay. I was like, okay.
Settlers of Catan's a pretty popular game, wasn't
Well,
it, Mayfair?
but Mayfair was, like TSR was broken up and had a couple of reiterations.
Okay.
Like when Gary went to California to TSR West, and Lorraine Williams was hired. Their family owned Buck Rogers, correct?
Yes.
Owned Buck Rogers, so
It'd be Flint Dilly.
and Flint Dilly, her brother, and they so they started putting all of their concentration and money into Buck Rogers because they owned the property. D&D went to the side, so TSR went.
Yeah.
So that was the demise of TSR.
So many printings of a game that just kept failing over and over. I'm sorry, Flint. Over and over.
Right, yeah.
Wow.
So, and
Wow.
if it hadn't been, if Gary hadn't gone out to California and done the cartoon and stuff, I think TSR would still be around the way it was.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be speaking to you guys because you wouldn't be worth my time.
I said we'd be beneath you.
Exactly. I'd like
I-
to kiss my ring,
I would still talk.
and you could roll my dice. Once, but you could roll my dice.
Wow. Well, guys, this has been an absolute pleasure.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Like huge highlight for me. I'm so grateful. So we're gonna wrap this up. But thank you so much for spending time with us. Come down to ICCC. Please spend time. Come play
Yes.
a game with us. Check us out at the media room and the Kingsley room.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. We're
Yep.
right next to each other. So you pop in and say hi to both. We're here all weekend. So
Yes,
And
we
if you
are.
want a DM, come on in.
Let's play.
Yeah,
Roll dice. Play. Make friends.
let's roll.
exactly.